Hi friends, it's Sarah Millerhouse here, and I am excited to share a layout today for the Bella Boulevard design team. And I am going to be using Bella Besties and lots of beautiful Bella Boulevard goodness for this summer layout. So I started with the summer cut file that you see me backing down below. I created the backing pieces in the Cricut software using the contour tool to create those letters to fill those spaces. And then I also used the sunrise cut file to create this sun. I used the offset tool to create several layers, like the shadow layer that is yellow. I used the contour or the offset tool to create that. And then I used my edge distressing tool to distress the edges of all of those little points on that sun. And then I'm going to be creating a shaker pocket out of that. So this is just a piece of acetate, nothing special about it, just clear acetate. And I am going to be gluing that down on the back of the sun. And I'm going to let that dry. And I add that orange layer, hear that to the front, and then also that white circle I just created in the design software too. So here, this is going to be the backing piece behind the whole thing, and I'm just making sure that I have it lined up where it fits correctly. I do actually end up offsetting it so that you can see those points there. I turned it just a little bit so it creates almost another little point to the sun. And that will be the back of my shaker. So here I'm adding craft foam around the back of that piece of acetate, and then I'm using sequins from my stash. I use several different colors of yellow, gold, orange, and then a metallic orange to fill the center of that. And then I also am going to use, I have a couple little containers of teeny tiny, like microscopic yellow stars and orange stars, so I'm going to add those as well. Those are little teeny tiny stars. There's the orange ones. So I'm just kind of filling in that space. I do like my shaker pockets to be very full of lots of color and shimmer and shine. So I do add lots of sequins there. Add a little bit more for good measure. And then I pull off that backing of my craft foam. I add a little extra adhesive here is what I'm doing. And then I'm going to add that back piece. Make sure I have it lined up where I want it. And then my shaker pocket is made. So that's a great cut file. Again, it's called Sunrise in the Bella Boulevard Silhouette store. So I go to the Silhouette store and download the Bella Boulevard cut files. And there's an option to download it as an SVG. And so if you are a Cricut user, it's super easy to download that as an SVG and then upload it into your Cricut software. So really great to be able to use all of those Bella Boulevard cut files that way. So here I'm going to get busy on the background. So I knew my sun was going to sit up in the left hand corner. So I'm just using a little bit of Distress Oxide to add some yellow back behind where that sun is going to be. And that is fossilized amber that I used. And then added just a little touch of orange there. And now I'm going to add some turquoise. And I did the blue colors. I was trying to kind of make it look not stripy, but kind of like the layers or the waves of the ocean. So I did do it kind of like in lines instead of up top like I blended it really well. Here I didn't blend it as well. So I just am kind of trying to add that in stripes of color. So I used Salvage Patina first is the first color. And then I used Peacock Feathers on top of that to add a variation of color. And then here what I was doing, I was just spraying, that is the Color Splash, the new acrylic glossy spray from Shimmer's Paints. So I added some Color Splash there. And then I'm going to go back and I just went and added some splatters of the Distress Oxide around to kind of make it a little messier. I love that look. And then now I'm also adding a few more Shimmer's colors to the top of that water. So this background is created in lots of layers to go behind those cut files. So I added a layer of the shimmer spray, and I do have a picture at the very end that has all of the mediums that I used, so you can snapshot that if you would like to. And then this is the Color Splash, the new blue Color Splash spray. So I added that, and you can kind of see that that was a more full coverage medium that I used. So it was more opaque, you can't see through it as much, but then I'm gonna go back and add layer on some more color. So here I'm gonna use Distress ink in Peacock Feathers. So that is just I use the re-inker bottle to add color straight to my layout. That's a trick to get more vivid color. If you want that, you can use that re-inker bottle, those inks just as like liquid watercolor almost. So I did that to kind of go and add some strokes of water. And I'm liking how that looks so far. So I'm going to sit that off to dry for a little while I get busy working on some of the pieces from, I actually pulled out many of these embellishments are from the Time to Travel collection. So I just pulled out a few of those little bits and pieces, and then I spent some time trimming the white borders off of each of those pieces. I love to cut white borders off of everything, so I love the color, just to have straight color. So I did cut the borders off of those, and then that little striped tab, I love this little colorful striped tab that I am adding right now. So I just roughed up the edges of that and then adhered that to the right side of that cut file on that letter M. And then I'm going to add this orange tab piece, and it's doesn't have any words or anything on it. It's just little white and orange patterned tab. So I'm going to go ahead and add adhesive to that and add that to the left side of that M. And then I am going to layer up some embellishments around that cut file and then on top of the cut file. So you'll see, add several different little things there. So my background has dried and I'm ready to adhere down that sun shaker. I did use, you saw dry adhesive to hold it in place for right now, and then wet adhesive to hold it in place long term. It is on top of a lot of mixed media on that background, so you definitely want to use a good wet adhesive to glue to that. And then here I'm using one of my favorite Bella Besties color. This pink is, the vibrant pink is like, love that color. So I am using that to back my photo. And that's the same color that I used for the S in the cut file. So my photo is going to go up there in that right corner. I'm adding a little bit of craft foam. This is just cheap craft foam from my local craft store. I add my own adhesive to it. Again, both wet and dry adhesive. You could just do wet adhesive if you don't mind things moving around while you're working with them a little bit. But I always like them to stay in place once I put them down. So I add both. And then I'm going to add a little bit of craft foam to the back of the cut file so that it is also popped up off the back of the, or popped up off of the page. And this craft foam that I'm adding on here is a little bit thicker than the craft foam that I used on the photo, so it does sit up a little bit higher. And then I'm just going through and kind of roughing up or pinching together the ends of that sun so that it pokes up a little bit more. I love how that looks when there's lots of texture on a layout. And then here I'm going to go ahead and add some of those pieces of ephemera that I trimmed the white borders off of, and I'm going to layer those on each side of that cut file. So I'm adding a little bit of craft foam right now to that little sun piece. I love that little piece of ephemera. And then the little pink bordered camera. I'm going to kind of layer that on top a little bit of that sun. So it helps if you're going to add lots of embellishments to a layout. It does definitely help to layer them and kind of keep everything tight together so that it doesn't get too busy although I don't mind a busy layout, but I do try to keep those embellishments close together so that they all kind of work together to make an impact. And then here I pulled out some clouds, and then that little striped arrow I end up using off to the left. Try it in lots of different places. I love that little chipboard chow chip arrow. And then this is the palm tree from the chow chip sheet. So I also trim the white off of that real quick. I won't make you watch the whole thing. It's not super fun to watch someone fussy cut something. So there it is, finished and cut. So I glue that down. And then I'm going to add a palm tree on top of the cut file right there. And I will add just a little tiny bit of craft foam behind the actual palm part so that it kind of sticks up off of the cut file. And that helps give a little bit of depth and dimension. And then I'm going to add a pink heart in between that orange U and yellow M. I'm just right on top of there. I add a piece of ephemera. It's the cardstock ephemera. And then I'm actually going to layer a chow chip piece on top of that as well. Another little pink heart. And I popped that up on craft foam. And then here my arrow is ready. I finally decided where it's going to go. It's going to go right there to the left, pointing to the word summer. And then that super cute camera, it says in the middle of it, it says camera happy, which is definitely true for me. Love to take pictures of my babies. And this photo is of a day this summer where we were just hanging out in the pool in the backyard, and my husband was at work, so we were sending pictures to him of us swimming. So I took one of those photos and printed it off because it definitely, that's my kid's favorite thing to do in the summer is swim. So I've got that photo there. And then I used one of those little geotag looking pieces that's a puffy sticker, and it says the best, which is so true. Then I added a few more little puffy stickers, little house that has a heart on it, and then another heart, and then I'm going to end up adding a little chow chip piece that says explore down there as well. So I pulled off another piece of chipboard. It says, and I pulled off the best. So it's going to say, my title is going to say the best summer. So I played around with where that word needed to go, but I end up ultimately liking it up there above the photo. I'm going to glue that down. And that's where I'm adding now that little piece I was talking about that says explore, and it's got a little heart behind it. Glued that right down there below that R. And then all of the chipboard pieces, really everything that I add to a layout, I add just a touch of my own glue to make sure that it sticks for the long term. So they all do have adhesive on them, which I love, but I do add another little, just a little tiny dot of glue to make sure that they stay forever and ever. And then I've got those chipboard clouds I'm going to be putting up at the top near the sun. And then I'm going to use the Nuvo Glimmer Paste to just kind of paint some shine on top of those clouds. I want them to kind of look pillowy and sparkly around my sun. So I kind of put that on there really thick with a paint, just with a little paintbrush. And I do leave, like, I want it to look a little bit lumpy, like a cloud looks. So I put it on pretty thick. And then I'm going to use pops of color. These are from scrapbook.com. And I add just yellow dots all the way around that white border that I have on the sun. And these do dry like raised little dots. So I love how that looks. It adds great texture and color to the layout. And I'm gonna add a few little turquoise pops of color here. And then I pull it close so you can see all those little details. I love how the background is shiny and shimmery, and then the sun sparkles for sure with all those sequins in there. I love both of those. Both of these cut files are fantastic for your layouts, summer layouts. So there is the final pictures of the layout. I hope you enjoyed the process, and if you have not ever used the Bella Besties colorful sheets of paper, you definitely should get your hands on those, because those are fantastic. And then there's the mediums I used, and if you have any questions, pop them down below in the comments. I'll be sure to answer them, and I hope you guys have an awesome day. Bye for now.